here today, reading from Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 42, Vitura's Talks with Maitreya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 42. Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge. And on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. Purport. The miracles of meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord with eagerness and devotion are so great that no other process can compare to it. The minds of materialistic persons are so disturbed that it is almost impossible for them to search after the supreme truth by personal, regulative endeavors. But even such materialistic men with a little eagerness for hearing about the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., can surpass all other methods of attaining knowledge and detachment. The conditioned soul is attached to the bodily conception of the self, and therefore he is in ignorance. Culture of self-knowledge can bring about detachment from material affection, and without such detachment there is no meaning to knowledge. The most stubborn attachment for material enjoyment is sex life. One who is attached to sex life is to be understood as devoid of knowledge. Knowledge must be followed by detachment. That is the way of self-realization. Because become manifest. These two essentials of self-realization, knowledge and detachment, become manifest very quickly if one performs devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The word dhira is very significant in this connection. A person who is not disturbed, even in the presence of cause of disturbance, is called dhira. Sri Manujacharya says, "Since my heart has been overwhelmed by the devotional service of Lord Krishna, I cannot even think of sex life. And if thoughts of sex come up upon me, I at once feel disgust." A devotee of the Lord becomes an elevated dhira by the simple process of meditating in eagerness on the lotus feet of the Lord.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, no matter how much devotional service you perform, if you're not detached from the result, from feedback, from anything that may affect the false ego, then you're not really that advanced, despite so many years of knowledge. Sometimes we see that, we find some people, devotees, are approachable and some are not, on the level of their detachment to what you're going to say. It's interesting, because you might find the so-called clueless bhakta more easy to approach than as someone who's been around 20, 30 years. They may go crazy, oh wow, I don't know what happened there. Because they have knowledge and they put the years in, which is not to be taken away. But we have to self-assess ourselves. How are we progressing? Are we progressing? Are we getting detached? Are we dhira, really?
Seems that it's implied that happens automatically through the process of, well, as Prabhupada says here at the end, the devotee of the Lord becomes an elevated dhira by the simple process of meditating in eagerness on the lotus feet of the Lord. You have to meditate in eagerness.
Yes.
And then naturally these things will come, of course, yeah. But of course in one sense it sounds easy and simple, but as we go through we realize that there are many layers of our false ego that need to be peeled away, and how resistant the false ego is in being eradicated. And because of our identification with the false ego, then as that layer is trying to be peeled away, there's so much resistance, and we fight against it, no matter how much Krishna is trying to show us. But because we identify with it, then we think it's us who's being destroyed,
Mm-hmm.
when actually really it's the false ego, and underneath somewhere is us, the little soul. Oh. Devotional service entails being initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and following his instruction in regard to hearing about the Lord. Such a bona fide spiritual master is accepted by regularly hearing from him about the Lord. The improvement in knowledge and detachment can be perceived by devotees as an actual experience. So like you said, self-assessment. And others around us also. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strongly recommended this process of hearing from a bona fide devotee, and by following this process one can achieve the highest result, conquering all other methods. Yeah, I think the reason I kind of joined or got connected with Krishna consciousness and devotional service is because I definitely felt in the beginning a natural detachment from material things and a strong attachment to Krishna consciousness, to practicing it. And I could see that over and above all the yoga and meditation and even other religions or whatever that I had partaken in, that it was this was so powerful, and I could just sense it. It was so powerful. Yeah, but as you go on, the layers are difficult to peel away.
Yeah, because you become conditioned to your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to constantly be flying outside of that, otherwise we don't make progress. It's my people, my universe, my rules, my regulations, my service. So the aeroplane keeps flying and it will get to its destination. How long it takes is obviously another question. And how you deal with the turbulence and this and that, as they do on an aeroplane, is something else. And if you're in the comfort zone, the turbulence could kill you. You don't have to deal with it, but you don't know how to deal with turbulence. You don't have to deal with that because if you've been on an aeroplane, you know it sometimes goes up and down. And, you can be lurched forward and this and that. An experienced pilot will know how to get around these things to get to the destination, but someone who's just chilling and comfortable, that could bring you down.
Nice example.
Text 43. O Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, and therefore we all take shelter of your lotus feet, because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Purport. For the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestations, there are three incarnations: Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, Lord Shiva. They are the controllers or masters of the three modes of material nature, which cause a phenomenal manifestation. Vishnu is the master of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the master of the mode of passion, and Maheshwara is the master of the mode of ignorance. There are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. Persons in the mode of goodness worship Lord Shiva, those in the mode of passion worship Lord Brahma, and those in the mode of ignorance worship Lord Shiva. All three of these deities are incarnations of the Supreme Lord Krishna, because he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods directly refer to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and not to the different incarnations. The incarnation of Vishnu in the material world is, however, directly worshipped by the demigods. It is learned from various scriptures that the demigods approach Lord Vishnu in the ocean of milk and submit their grievances whenever there is some difficulty in the administration of universal affairs. Although they are incarnations of the Lord, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva worship Lord Vishnu, and thus they are also counted amongst the demigods, and not as a supreme personality of Godhead. Persons who worship Lord Vishnu are called demigods, and persons who not do so are called asuras, or demons. Vishnu always takes the part of the demigods, but Brahma and Shiva sometimes take the side of the demons. It is not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. So it's just explaining the position of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, which is often confused because they're such great personalities in themselves, above the other demigods. But still, they're not Krishna.
He says sometimes they may take the side of the asuras, but it's not that they become one in interest with them, but sometimes they do something in order to gain control over the demons. So we see how, Ravana took shelter of Brahma, I think it was, and was benedicted, and Hiranyakashipu, he was benedicted by Brahma. Lord Ravan is, I think it was also Brahma, right? But different ones take shelter of Lord Shiva, and he benedicts them. But in the end, somehow their benedictions become favorable to their surrender to Krishna. So like that. Text 54. O Lord, persons who are entangled by the undesirable eagerness for the temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by thoughts of mine and I, are unable to see your lotus feet. Although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies, please let us take shelter of your lotus feet. It says, although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies. So the Lord's lotus feet are situated within our bodies. We'll discuss that more later. Let's see what the purport says. The whole Vedic philosophy of life is that one should get rid of the material encagement of gross and subtle bodies, which only causes one to continue in a condemned life of miseries. This material body continues as long as one is not detached from the false conception of lording it over material nature. The impetus for lording it over material nature is the sense of mine and I. I am the Lord of all that I survey. So many things I possess, and I shall possess more and more. Who can be richer than I in wealth and education? I am the Master, and I am God. Who else is there but me? All these ideas reflect the philosophy of aham mama, the conception that I am everything. Persons conducted by such a conception of life can never get liberation from material bondage. But even a person perpetually condemned to the miseries of material existence can get relief from bondage if he simply agrees to hear only Krishna Katha. In this age of Kali, the process of hearing Krishna Katha is the most effective means to gain release from unwanted family affection and thus find permanent freedom in life. The age of Kali is full of sinful reactions, and people are more and more addicted to the qualities of this age. But simply by hearing and chanting of Krishna Katha, one is sure to go back to Godhead. Therefore, people should be trained to hear only Krishna Katha, by all means, in order to get relief from all miseries. So, Krishna Katha is the answer and the solution. And what about the Lord's lotus feet situated within our own bodies? What do you think of that?
Well, the Paramatma is situated within our body, so his feet must be there as well.
Very good, very good. Okay.
Text 45. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialist activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendently enjoy your activities. Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.61, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. It is natural that one should be able to see the Lord, at least within himself, but that is not possible for those whose internal vision has been covered by external activities. The pure soul, which is symptomized by consciousness, can be easily perceived even by a common man, because consciousness is spread all over the body. The yoga system, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita, is to concentrate the mental activities internally and thus see the lotus feet of the Lord within oneself. But there are many so-called yogis who have no concern with the Lord, but are only concerned with consciousness, which they accept as the final realization. Such realization of consciousness is taught by Bhagavad Gita within only a few minutes, whereas the so-called yogis take continuous years to realize it because of their offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The greatest offense is to deny the existence of the Lord as separate from the individual souls, or to accept the Lord and the individual souls as one and the same. The impersonalists misinterpret the theory of reflection, and thus they wrongly accept the individual consciousness as the supreme consciousness.
What's
Such offenders.
Such offenders cannot actually see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves, nor are they even able to see the devotees of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord are so kind that they roam to all places to enlighten people in God consciousness. The offenders, however, lose the chance to receive the Lord's devotees, although the offenseless common man is at once influenced by the devotee's presence. In this connection, there is an interesting story of a hunter and Devarshi Narada. A hunter in the forest, although a great sinner, was not an intentional offender. He was at once influenced by the presence of Narada, and he agreed to take the path of devotion, leaving aside his hearth and home. But the offenders, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, even though living amongst the demigods, had to undergo the punishment of becoming trees in their next lives, although by the grace of a devotee they were later delivered by the Lord. Offenders have to wait until they receive the mercy of devotees, and then they can become eligible to see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves. But due to their offenses and their extreme materialism, they cannot see even the devotees of the Lord. Engaged in external activities, they kill the internal vision. The Lord's devotees, however, do not mind the offenses of the foolish in their many gross and subtle bodily endeavors. The Lord's devotees continue to bestow the blessings of devotion upon all such offenders without hesitation. That is the nature of devotees. Interesting. Any thoughts? Someone's playing some music and singing. So it seems to agree with the principle in the Bhagavad Gita, where Srila Prabhupada explains that the devotees of the Lord are more merciful than the Lord, because even they're prepared to take risks to free or liberate or bring closer to Krishna the fallen conditioned souls who clearly have no attraction for them. So this is the mood of a devotee, or it says here, the nature of a devotee, to continue to bestow blessings of devotion upon all such offenders without hesitation. So it's really a powerful mindset to not be disturbed by the offensive mentality or nature of someone else, and still work desperately hard to try to connect them to Krishna. But I guess because we're not as advanced as Narada Muni, it might not be so easy.
Text 426. O Lord, persons who, because of their serious attitude, attain the stage of enlightened devotional service, achieve the complete meaning of renunciation and knowledge, and attain the Vaikuntha Loka in the spiritual sky simply by drinking the nectar of your topics. Purport. The difference between the impersonalist mental speculators and the pure devotees of the Lord is that the former pass through a miserable understanding of the absolute truth at every stage, whereas the devotees enter into the kingdom of all pleasures even from the beginning of their attempt. The devotee has only to hear about devotional activities, which are as simple as anything in ordinary life, and he also acts very simply, whereas the mental speculator has to pass through a jugglery of words which are partially facts and partially make show for the maintenance of an artificial impersonal status. In spite of his strenuous efforts to attain perfect knowledge, the impersonalist attains merging into the impersonal oneness of the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. which is also attained by the enemies of the Lord simply because of them being killed by him. The devotees, however, attain to the highest stage of knowledge and renunciation and achieve the Vaikuntha Lokas, the planets in the spiritual sky. The impersonalist attain only the sky and does not achieve any tangible transcendental bliss, whereas the devotee attains to the planets where real spiritual life prevails. With a serious attitude, the devotee throws away all achievements like so much dust, and he accepts only devotional service, the transcendental combination.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting that the mental speculators pass through a miserable understanding of the absolute truth at every stage. What's the point? Whereas, like I said, the simple bhakti or bhakti says even from the beginning, they're experiencing happiness, bliss, as we see when we come to the process and as we pass through. Of course, challenges and tests are there, but like we learned in the previous verses, that's for us as we grow up in spiritual life to start to introspect and do some spiritual MOT and where am I going wrong, what am I doing wrong, but it's a joyful process actually. Whereas mental speculators are just miserable.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering why is that? It's because they're perpetually trying to negate everything, right?
Yeah, and there's no rasa, there's no relationship at the end of the day.
Not this, not that, not this, not that, not this, not that.
Once you add the personal element, and it's pleasure. That's why we're always seeking. That's why an old man will get married when he's past his sell-by date because he's seeking pleasure. Or woman.
Yeah.
Generally it's men then.
Okay. Text 47. We're going to finish with this one. Others who are pacified by means of transcendental self-realization and have conquered over the modes of nature by dint of strong power and knowledge also enter into you, but for them there is much pain, whereas the devotees simply discharges devotional service and thus feels no such pain. Purport. In terms of a labor of love and its returns, the bhaktas or devotees of the Lord always have priority over persons who are addicted to the association of gyanis or impersonalists and yogis or mystics. The word apare, others, is very significant in this connection. Others refers to the gyanis and the yogis, whose only hope is to merge into the existence of the impersonal Brahmajyoti. Although their designation is not so important in comparison to the destination. Although their destination is not so important in comparison to the destination of the devotees, the labor of the non-devotees is far greater than that of the bhaktas. One may suggest that there is sufficient labor for the devotees also in the matter of discharging devotional service, but that labor is compensated by the enhancement of the transcendental pleasure. The devotees derive more transcendental pleasure while engaged continuously in the service of the Lord than when they have no such engagement. In the family combination of a man and woman, there is much labor and responsibility for both of them. Yet when they are single, they feel more trouble for want of their united activities. Interesting statement here. So, devotional life for devotees is more blissful when they're doing service and engaging in labor and activities for the pleasure of the Lord. It's blissful. Whereas the non-devotees, the gyanis or the yogis, they try to detach from these things and not perform any action or any activity and just be renounced, usually. But they never find any bliss. So often, I guess the understanding is that, like you go on holiday from work and you'll be more happy on holiday when you're not doing anything and you're getting a break from work. But the irony is that a devotee is more happy being engaged in the service of the Lord, and they find greater bliss in that than trying to not be engaged. And the comparison is given to a man and a woman then when they come together, there may be so much labor and responsibility, and even so much difficulties, challenges, and personal issues. But still, it's more blissful than when they were single and they were desiring to be in a relationship, kind of thing. That makes sense.
The union of the impersonalists and the union of the devotees are not on a par. The impersonalists try to fully stop the individuality by attaining Sayujya Mukti, or unification by merging into oneness, whereas the devotees keep their individuality to exchange feelings in relationship with the Supreme Individual Lord. Such reciprocation of feelings takes place in the transcendental Vaikuntha planets, and therefore the liberation sought by the impersonalists is already achieved in devotional service. The devotees attain mukti automatically while continuing the transcendental pleasure of maintaining individuality. As explained in the previous verse, the destination of the devotees is Vaikuntha or Akuta Dishna, the place where anxieties are completely eradicated. One should not mistake the destination of the devotees and that of the impersonalists to be one and the same. The destinations are distinctly different, and the transcendental pleasure derived by the devotee is also distinct from chinmatra, or spiritual feelings alone.
Any closing words?
Well, yeah, so it's a lot of effort to be an impersonalist. It's better just to be personal.
Yeah, I guess the thing is there's a lot of effort in being a devotee also. It's not that it's not hard work, but theoretically you experience bliss in that work and that effort. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very happy. We're blissful.
Very complaining about that.
We're always blissful.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah.